Hello there, friends. How are we all doing today? I'm so glad you've decided to spend a little time with me. You know, sometimes as we journey through life, especially after we've reached that wonderful milestone of retirement, things can feel, well, a little different, can't they? Maybe you've noticed that little voice in your head, the one that used to cheer you on, now seems a little quieter or perhaps even a bit critical. Have you ever felt that way? Like you're not quite as capable, as valuable, or as interesting as you once were. Maybe you find yourself dwelling on past mistakes or worrying about what the future holds now that the structure of work has faded away. Perhaps you catch yourself thinking, "Oh, I'm too old for that," or "I could never do that anymore." That, my friends, is what we call negative self-talk, and it can be a real thief, stealing our joy, our confidence, and our overall sense of well-being. Retirement is supposed to be a time of freedom, a time to explore passions, spend time with loved ones, and finally do all those things you've always dreamed of. But how can we truly enjoy this chapter if we're constantly battling these negative thoughts? How can we embrace new adventures when our inner critic is holding us back? That's precisely what we're going to explore together today. Because, let's be honest, retirement can be a huge adjustment. You've spent decades, maybe even your entire adult life, defining yourself by your career, your work ethic, your accomplishments in the workplace. Suddenly, that's gone. The daily routine, the social interactions, the sense of purpose, it all changes. And that can leave a void, a feeling of uncertainty, and yes, even a dip in our self-esteem. Now, self-esteem isn't about being arrogant or thinking you're better than everyone else. It's simply about having a healthy respect for yourself, recognizing your worth and believing in your abilities. It's the foundation upon which we build a fulfilling and meaningful life. And when that foundation is shaky, everything else suffers. That's why I believe it's absolutely crucial to address negative self-talk and actively work to rebuild our self-esteem, especially during and after retirement. We deserve to feel good about ourselves. We deserve to enjoy this time in our lives to the fullest. And we absolutely have the power to change those negative thought patterns and create a more positive and confident outlook. In this video, we're going to delve into 4 powerful strategies that you can start using today to stop negative self-talk and rebuild your self-esteem after retirement. These aren't complicated, pie-in-the-sky ideas. They're practical, actionable steps that you can easily incorporate into your daily life. Think of them as tools for your mental toolkit, ready to be used whenever those pesky negative thoughts start to creep in. So, grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's get started. The first strategy, and perhaps the most fundamental one, is becoming aware of your thoughts. Now, that might sound simple, but it's actually a skill that takes practice. We often go through our days on autopilot, letting our thoughts run wild without really paying attention to them. It's like having the radio on in the background. We hear the music, but we're not really listening to the lyrics. But to change those negative thought patterns, we first need to identify them. Think of it like weeding a garden. You can't get rid of the weeds if you don't know they're there, right? So, how do we become more aware of our thoughts? Well, one of the most effective techniques is mindfulness. Mindfulness is simply paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It's about noticing your thoughts, feelings, and sensations as they arise, without getting caught up in them. There are many ways to practice mindfulness. You can start with something as simple as focusing on your breath for a few minutes each day. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and simply observe the sensation of the air entering and leaving your body. When your mind wanders, as it inevitably will, gently guide it back to your breath. Another way to practice mindfulness is to pay attention to your senses. When you're eating, really savor the taste, the texture, and the aroma of the food. When you're walking, notice the feeling of your feet on the ground, the sounds of the birds singing, the warmth of the sun on your skin. The idea is to fully immerse yourself in the present moment, rather than getting lost in your thoughts. As you practice mindfulness, you'll start to become more aware of the thoughts that are running through your head. And when you notice a negative thought, don't judge yourself for having it. Remember, everyone has negative thoughts from time to time. The key is to simply acknowledge the thought, and then let it go. Imagine your thoughts are like clouds passing through the sky. You don't have to cling to them or try to control them. Just observe them as they come and go. This is a skill, and like any skill, it takes time, so be patient with yourself. For example, let's say you're thinking about taking up painting again, something you used to love. But then that negative voice pipes up. Oh, you haven't painted in years. You're probably terrible now. Don't even bother. Instead of letting that thought derail you, simply acknowledge it. Okay, I'm having a thought that I might not be good at painting anymore. And then gently let it go. Don't dwell on it. Don't argue with it. Just let it pass. You might even gently say to yourself, I'll never know unless I try. The more you practice this, the easier it will become to identify and release those negative thoughts. And the more you release them, the more space you'll create for positive and empowering thoughts. Now, once you've become more aware of your negative thoughts, the next step is to actively challenge them. This is our second strategy. Challenge negative thoughts. Don't just accept them as facts. Question them. Ask yourself if they're really true. Are they based on evidence, or are they simply assumptions? Often, negative thoughts are based on distorted thinking patterns, such as catastrophizing, overgeneralizing, or personalization. Catastrophizing is when you imagine the worst possible outcome in every situation. Overgeneralizing is when you take one negative event and apply it to all areas of your life. And personalization is when you blame yourself for things that are beyond your control. For example, let's say you tried a new recipe and it didn't turn out very well. A catastrophizing thought might be, oh no, I'm a terrible cook. I'll never be able to cook anything right. An overgeneralizing thought might be, I'm just no good at anything. I'm a failure. And a personalizing thought might be, it's all my fault. I should have known better. Now, are these thoughts really true? Probably not. It's much more likely that the recipe was just a bit challenging, or that you simply made a small mistake. Everyone makes mistakes, especially when trying something new. So, how do you challenge these negative thoughts? Well, one technique is to ask yourself some questions. For example, what evidence do I have to support this thought? What evidence do I have that contradicts this thought? Is there another way to look at this situation? What would I tell a friend who was having this thought? Let's go back to the example of the failed recipe. You might ask yourself, what evidence do I have that I'm a terrible cook? Well, I've cooked many successful meals in the past. What evidence do I have that contradicts this thought? I've received compliments on my cooking before. Is there another way to look at this situation? Maybe the recipe was just poorly written, or maybe I was distracted while cooking. What would I tell a friend who was having this thought? I would tell them not to be so hard on themselves and to try again. By asking yourself these questions, you can start to see that your negative thoughts are often based on inaccurate or distorted thinking. And once you recognize that, you can start to reframe them into more realistic and positive thoughts. Remember, this isn't about forcing yourself to be unrealistically optimistic. It's about finding a more balanced and accurate perspective. It's about being kind to yourself. Now that we've learned how to identify and challenge those pesky negative thoughts that can creep in after retirement, let's move on to our third strategy, which is incredibly powerful. Focus on your strengths and accomplishments. It's so easy, isn't it, to dwell on our perceived shortcomings, especially when we're facing new challenges or feeling a bit uncertain. But it's absolutely vital to remind ourselves of what we're good at and what we've achieved throughout our lives. Think about it. You've lived a full life, filled with experiences, both big and small. You've overcome obstacles, learned new skills, and made a difference in the lives of others. You have a wealth of knowledge and wisdom that only comes with time. And all of that is something to be incredibly proud of. But how do we actually focus on our strengths and accomplishments? It's more than just thinking about them in passing. We need to actively cultivate a sense of appreciation for ourselves. One effective technique is to create a success journal. This is simply a notebook where you write down your accomplishments, both big and small, on a regular basis. It could be something as significant as raising a family, building a successful career, or volunteering in your community. Or it could be something as simple as cooking a delicious meal, finishing a challenging puzzle, or helping a neighbor in need. The key is to focus on the things that make you feel good about yourself, the things that remind you of your capabilities and your contributions to the world. Don't underestimate the power of small victories. They all add up to a bigger picture of competence and worth. Try to write in your success journal at least once a week, or even daily if you can. And don't just list your accomplishments. Take a moment to really savor them. Reflect on how you felt when you achieved those goals. Remember the challenges you overcame and the skills you used to succeed. For example, maybe you're feeling down because you're having trouble mastering a new technology. Instead of dwelling on your frustration, take a moment to write in your success journal about a time when you successfully learned a new skill. Maybe you learned to knit, play a musical instrument, or speak a new language. Remind yourself that you have the capacity to learn and grow, even if it takes time and effort. Another way to focus on your strengths is to identify your values and live in accordance with them. What's truly important to you in life? Is it family, friendship, creativity, learning, helping others, or something else? When you're living in alignment with your values, you're more likely to feel a sense of purpose and fulfillment, which can significantly boost your self-esteem. Think about activities that allow you to express your values. If you value creativity, maybe you could take up painting, writing, or playing music. If you value helping others, you could volunteer at a local charity or mentor a young person. When you're engaged in activities that are meaningful to you, you're more likely to feel good about yourself and your place in the world. Furthermore, don't be afraid to ask for feedback from others. Sometimes, we're so caught up in our own self-criticism that we fail to see our own strengths. Ask your friends, family members, or former colleagues what they admire about you. What qualities do they appreciate? What contributions have you made that have had a positive impact on their lives? You might be surprised by what they say. Often, others see our strengths more clearly than we do ourselves, and hearing their positive feedback can be incredibly validating and empowering. But be open to receiving it. Don't brush it off or dismiss it. Really listen and let it sink in. Remember, focusing on your strengths and accomplishments is not about bragging or being arrogant. It's about cultivating a healthy sense of self-respect and appreciation. It's about recognizing your inherent worth as a human being, and that's something we all deserve. Okay, we've talked about becoming aware of our thoughts, challenging the negative ones, and focusing on our strengths. Now, let's move on to our final but equally important strategy. This one is all about action, about actively creating positive experiences that will build your confidence and sense of self-worth. Embrace new challenges and opportunities. It's easy to fall into a rut after retirement, to stick with the same routines, avoid new experiences, and play it safe. But that can actually be detrimental to our self-esteem. When we stop challenging ourselves, we stop growing. And when we stop growing, we can start to feel stagnant, bored, and less capable. Think of it like this. Our brains are like muscles. The more we use them, the stronger they become. And the more we challenge ourselves, the more confident we become in our ability to handle whatever life throws our way. Embracing new challenges doesn't mean you have to climb Mount Everest or start a new business. It simply means stepping outside of your comfort zone and trying something new. It could be anything that you've always wanted to do but never had the time or the courage to try. Maybe you've always wanted to learn a new language, or take a cooking class, or join a book club, or volunteer at a local animal shelter. The possibilities are endless. The key is to choose something that excites you and that feels a bit challenging but not overwhelming. Start small and build from there. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to succeed. The goal is not necessarily to become an expert, but to learn, grow, and have fun along the way. For example, maybe you're intimidated by computers and technology. Instead of avoiding them altogether, start with a simple task, like learning how to send an email or video call a family member. There are tons of resources available to help you, including online tutorials, community classes, and friendly tech-savvy relatives who would probably be thrilled to share their knowledge. As you master these small tasks, you'll gain confidence and be more willing to tackle bigger challenges. And the more you learn, the more connected you'll feel to the world around you. Embracing new opportunities also means being open to new relationships and social connections. Retirement can sometimes lead to isolation, especially if you're no longer working and seeing your colleagues every day. But it's so important to maintain social connections and build new ones. Join a club, take a class, volunteer, or simply strike up conversations with people you meet in your daily life. You never know what interesting people and experiences you might discover. Remember, embracing new challenges and opportunities is not about proving yourself to anyone else. It's about proving to yourself that you're still capable of learning, growing, and living a fulfilling life. It's about reminding yourself that you have so much to offer the world, regardless of your age or your past experiences. It's about finding joy in the process of discovery and celebrating your achievements, no matter how small. So, now that we've discussed focusing on our strengths and embracing new opportunities, let's tie it all together in the final part of our discussion. So, we've journeyed through 4 powerful strategies to help you stop negative self-talk and rebuild your self-esteem after retirement. We've talked about the importance of becoming aware of your thoughts, recognizing those negative patterns that can hold you back. We then explored how to actively challenge those negative thoughts, questioning their validity and reframing them into more positive and realistic perspectives. After that, we delved into the power of focusing on your strengths and accomplishments, celebrating your past successes, and recognizing your inherent worth. And finally, we discussed the importance of embracing new challenges and opportunities, stepping outside of your comfort zone and continuing to learn and grow. You see, it all connects. When you're mindful of your thoughts, you can catch those negative spirals before they take hold. When you challenge those thoughts, you're replacing negativity with a more balanced view of yourself and your capabilities. When you focus on your strengths, you're reminding yourself of your value and your potential. And when you embrace new challenges, you're building confidence and proving to yourself that you're still capable of amazing things. These strategies aren't just quick fixes or temporary solutions. They're about cultivating a new mindset, a more positive and empowering way of thinking about yourself and your life. And like any new skill, it takes practice and patience. There will be times when you stumble, when those negative thoughts creep back in, or when you feel overwhelmed by a challenge. But don't give up on yourself. Just keep practicing these strategies, and over time, you'll start to see a real difference in your self-esteem and your overall sense of well-being. Remember, retirement is not the end of your story. It's simply a new chapter. A time to reinvent yourself, to explore new passions, and to live life on your own terms. You have so much to offer the world, regardless of your age or your past experiences. Your wisdom, your experience, your kindness, your unique perspective. These are all invaluable assets. Don't let negative self-talk hold you back from living your best life. You deserve to feel confident, happy, and fulfilled. And you absolutely have the power to create that reality for yourself. Think back to those 4 strategies, not as separate items on a to-do list, but as interconnected parts of a whole. Imagine them working together, supporting and reinforcing each other. The awareness feeding the challenge, the strengths fueling the courage to try new things. It's a beautiful cycle, a virtuous circle that lifts you higher and higher. And while we've talked about some specific techniques, remember that this is a deeply personal journey. What works for one person might not work for another. Experiment with different approaches, find what resonates with you, and tailor these strategies to fit your own unique needs and circumstances. Maybe you find that journaling is incredibly helpful for processing your thoughts and emotions. Or perhaps you prefer to talk to a trusted friend, family member, or therapist. Maybe you find solace in nature, spending time outdoors and connecting with the beauty of the world around you. Or perhaps you find inspiration in books, podcasts, or online communities. There's no right or wrong way to rebuild your self-esteem. The most important thing is to be proactive, to take responsibility for your own well-being, and to be kind and compassionate to yourself along the way. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What are some of the biggest challenges you've faced in retirement? Have you struggled with negative self-talk? And what strategies have you found helpful for boosting your self-esteem? Please share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your insights could be incredibly valuable to others who are going through similar challenges. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps to support the channel and allows us to keep creating content that we hope will be helpful to you. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We'll be sharing more tips and strategies for living a happy, healthy, and fulfilling life after retirement. Just click that subscribe button and that little bell so you don't miss anything. Remember, you are valuable. You are capable. You are worthy of love and respect. And you have the power to create a life that is filled with joy, purpose, and meaning. So, embrace this new chapter with confidence and enthusiasm. Believe in yourself, and never stop learning, growing, and living your best life. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I truly appreciate it. Here's to a happy, healthy, and confident retirement. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.